Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Welcome back to Lira in Law on this first Thursday of August, no? Di ba? First Thursday of August nga ngayon. So, welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. Ang pangalan ko po, Lira Simon Kabatbat. I am your host tonight. Our usual Thursday get-together between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. I'm a solicitor of over 30 years post-qualification experience, actually 33 to be precise. Abogado po ako. I'm a lawyer. I'm a solicitor at Douglas Simon Solicitors. We are a firm in Greater London. We are near the Richmond Tube Station, okay, which is the district line, for those of you who are looking to come by tube. So my firm has been about for 28 years. So mas matanda ako. So so I've been doing this a long time. And as usual po, pag-uusapan natin nga ngayon, legal issues that concern you with always, as much as we always try and do, with a practical twist nga. No? And tonight, of course, is no different. So I hope you'll be able to join me throughout. Kung gusto nyo akong batiin, which hopefully will be the case, meron tayong batian section nga mamaya. And of course, kung meron kayong mga questions, by all means, please do email your questions. Not too late. Okay? But we do have, we're going to be treated to quite a few questions, really good ones, nga, as usual tonight. And that includes our star question, which is to do with a topic that's quite close to my heart because I was actually involved from the beginning of this change in the law. So I was quite privileged to see it nga from the campaign, tapos from introduction of the concession, and then later on incorporation within immigration rules. And but sadly also, I witnessed it's the change from the original law to what we have now. So pag-uusapan po natin the before, and then what then happened nga, the law, the past law, the changes, and what you can do now. And the topic is domestic worker visa. No? There's quite a bit of background to this topic, the domestic work visa, and I'll take you through the background. But more importantly, I'll take you through, pag-usapan po natin, anong batas na nga ngayon. So kung nasan man kayo, gusto niyo pumasok dito as domestic worker, is this something that you can use? Kung nandito na kayo, no, o meron kayong employer, and they say, oh no, papasok tayo sa UK, dadaan ka namin sa domestic worker. Anong ibig sabihin? Ano bang mangyayari pagka nandito na nga kayo? So there are a number of questions or the number of issues that are always crop up with this topic nga. So, pwede bang extension, pwede pa bang indefinite leave to remain, ano bang kailangan? I mean, it's what are the conditions nga in order to be able to enter the UK nga on this basis. So we're going to go through the whole thing. No? As I say, it's close to my heart, and I'll tell you in a bit more detail later on. And that's because I've been involved nga in this with this type of issue really for the length of time that I have been qualified. No? So I'm qualified 33 years, and so for that time I've actually I was involved with this issue, the domestic work concession nga dati, and now the domestic worker rule now, of course, that it's changed into. So it's a topic that I enjoy, and I hope you enjoy it too. And as usual, we're going to be practical. No? So let me just read to you very briefly nga yung star question natin. Maigsi lang naman no? So sabi dito, let me have a look. So yun ang topic natin. So star question po, tanong niya ito, I am in the UK at the moment with the domestic worker visa. My visa will end will end at the end of August. So end of August. Can I extend it? Short and sweet. No? So we're going to unpack that question as usual, but with a bit of info, background nga, and of course, what now happens. Because the old law actually is still applicable to some people already still in the UK. A couple of clients actually who are still relying on the old law. And again, I'll tell you why that is. So malaking topic nga natin, but we are never shy to in dealing with big topics. No, that's it's so makes life more interesting. The challenge is what makes what makes it quite entertaining, no, diba? At least I hope so. No? So it's good of you to join me, and I hope they'll be able to join me throughout nga. Kung nanonood kayo, tapos meron kayong mga kaibigan, kamag-anak nga, you think they may be assisted by this and other previous topics nga natin, share our link. No? Sharing is caring. Right? So I hope that you'll be able not to do so. So we're going to take a quick break, no? Saglit nga lang po, and then we're going to launch into our topic. Sandali lang. See you soon. You can tell we're broadcasting live from London, England. So I was actually I was listening a little bit to our theme songs, and then anyway, at least you didn't see me kind of swaying to the music. Anyway, welcome back to Lira in Law. Thank you very much for joining me on this Thursday evening. We are broadcasting live from London, England between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. every Thursday po. Abogado po ako. Ang pangalan ko, Lira Kabatbat. I am a solicitor at Douglas Simon Solicitors, and I am over 30 years post-qualification experience. A long time. So anyway, without further ado, let us launch into our topic, which is domestic worker visa. Okay? Let me give you a little bit of background nga, no? And then we're because that puts into context what's the law now. When I say background, it's a long while ago. No, 1990s, there was a campaign that was actually spearheaded by some of you may actually remember this, Waling Waling. No, that was at the time they were the first and only unauthorized. No, wala silang visa. No, they were the members did not have a visa. Unauthorized organized worker organization in Europe. No, they were very brave. No. Because of what at the time it could be, that they could get caught, there were legal consequences, quite serious consequences, but nevertheless they were certainly they were certainly a big part of it, and of course Kalayaan. They were also very engaged and worked very hard towards the campaign, and I was fortunate enough to be part also of the campaign. And this happened 30 years ago, actually over 30 years ago. No, now why was that campaign? What was that about, and why was that pursued? The campaign was really to get regularized people who entered the United Kingdom as domestic workers, and then ended up in the UK or overstayed in the United Kingdom, wala nang visa. No? Ang daming mga taong yun ang nangyari. Because at the time, pagpapasok sila dito, they would enter the UK really at best with a visit visa. And then pagka nandito na sila, visitor nga sila, they could not work properly nga. They often also did not have protection, because they were visit visa nga. And then for a lot, unfortunately, nabuso sila ng mga employer. And I for one, was involved in taking down representations, to make representations. So I was noting what had happened, experiences of people, and they were truly, truly appalling. But nandito sila, wala silang visa, and they were just increasing in numbers. No? So there was a campaign to regularize those people. And the second part of the campaign was really to deal with people who are coming in on that basis so it doesn't happen again. So to incorporate domestic workers, as employees in the UK with the protection. So it was a two-part campaign, if you like, and that was back in 1990. Gosh, tagal na, no? 1990. Now, that eventually led to the very exciting concession in July 1997. I remember it quite well, no? That then dealt with domestic workers who were already in the United Kingdom, not without a visa. So when they say domestic workers, they meant people who entered the UK, say, as cleaners, nannies, no, chauffeurs, cooks, ganoon, no, usually para sa bahay, no. So what then happened? Yeah, so it's was the government at the time said, okay, we're going to introduce a concession. Beware, hindi to amnesty. Amnesty, the people talk about amnesty. Amnesty is really a blanket thing, so everyone is included. But this is a concession. So ang focus, no, yung mga taong dumating nga dito as domestic workers. And I remember at the time the challenge was to try and show, how did you enter? Did you enter nga? They entered nga as a domestic worker. And also that inabuso nga sila. And that was also quite difficult because a lot of people, of course, found it quite hard to talk about their experiences nga. And those who could talk about it often did not have evidence. No? Some, unfortunately, had evidence in the way of scars, injuries. No? But for the most part, they were also psychological abuse nga. So I was also, I remember taking down notes from people and their experiences. And that was quite, that people went through that. They were very brave to come forward. Yeah. But so that then we then submitted applications. I certainly, and for my firm, we submitted applications for regularization of our clients under the domestic work concession. And that concession was in play between July 1997 until the end of 1998. I think it was about December 1998, so 18 months. Now, after that, the concession actually, well, during that time, I should say, the 18 months, you had to submit your application. You had to, you needed to show that you satisfy that the concession. After that, so the deadline was 18 months. And after that time, sabi nila, okay, you can still make an application late under the concession, but you have to justify why late. And I had a few clients who were late applicants. But the concession deadline, as I say, and was in December 1998. After that, it still continued, the concession, but for those people who are entering the United Kingdom. So kung papasok mga tao, they're entering the UK then as a domestic worker under the concession. So ibig sabihin, pagka nandito na sila, they can change employer. They can even extend their visa in the UK, and they can even, in due course, apply for indefinite leave to remain. But that was not incorporated in the immigration rules at the time. It was simply a concession. So the concern of the campaign was, well, if it's a concession, it's not part of the immigration rules, then it can end very quickly. And of course, we didn't want it to end. We wanted people to continue to benefit from this concession, or rather, we wanted it to be incorporated in the immigration rules. That eventually happened in 2002. So the domestic work concession was incorporated into the immigration rules. Now, it meant people who are entering the UK as a domestic worker can apply for a visa as a domestic worker. They needed to be able to show that the income was compliant with the national minimum wage, which was always a problem in the past. Dahil hindi yung mga sweldo nila mas mababa. Once in the UK, they could change employers, and that also meant that I do think that it actually limited like abuse, simply because alam nung employer kung minamaltrato sila, pwede silang umalis. Meron silang pupuntang iba. See, so there were options available then, and then on top of that, the 2002 rule also meant that they could bring family members into the United Kingdom. Imagine, no, family members. That meant children under the age of 18 and spouses. And I certainly am witness to people who entered the UK as domestic workers and then brought in their families into the UK. And for a fair few, I'm still in touch with them. And some actually, you know, I think I'm on my limit at the moment is third generation clients, so client who entered the UK, who I regularized or assisted to regularize as a domestic worker, and then brought in their family, and their family then also entered the UK, and then they had themselves children. So yes, I'm proud to be part of that, and that continued, no. So domestic visa, pwedeng extension, pwedeng indefinite leave to remain, pwedeng kunin yung mga asawa at mga anak nga dito. So all of that continued for some 10 years, no? 2012 hanggang 2002 hanggang 2012. So it was in play for about 10 years now, and then it was replaced with what we have now. And I must say, it is it's nowhere, it's not reflective of the 2002 immigration rule. But we are where we are. Ang importante nga, alam nyo din, no? Because there's no point harking on about, you know, how it was before. It's a shame that it was replaced. But for those of you who are looking to enter the UK o nandito nga kayo, you need to know what the current situation is, and it is this. So what is it now? Domestic work visa in 2025. Ano kailangan nyo pakita? Now, unang-una po, you need to make, this is an application as a domestic worker must be made from abroad. It's an out-country application. So nandito na kayo, gusto nyo palitan visa nyo as a domestic worker, hindi po pwede. So it's an application from abroad. The applicant, no, kung magpapasok kayo, must be at least 19 years old, and there's no maximum age. In the past, actually, in the 2000 and up until 2012, there was an age limit, actually, of 65. But wala na yun. So 19 years old, no? You must have been also employed as a domestic worker and living with the employer or in a property that the employer has substantial use, no, on a regular basis for at least 12 months. So the employment must be 12 months or more, no, immediately before the application. So kung magpapasok yung application nga ngayon, August 2025, you need to have been employed by that employer and in their house, for example, from August 2024. Okay? Anong kailangan ipakita? Documents, no? Now, it's starting off with really a starting point always is letter from your employer. So, sulat o statement nga sa kanila, sasabihin doon that you, your terms of employment, ang ginagawa niyo para sa kanila. Are you a nanny predominantly? Are you a cleaner? Are you a cook? Ganon, no? And of course, saying na nandun ka when the employment started. So, 1 year minimum, as I say. And ang plano, as in, kung pupunta ka kayo sa UK, why? No? Is it for holiday, for example nga? So yun. So, letter from employer, importante yun. Additionally, the applicant must also show at least one or more of the following. I'll list it for you. Payslips, bank statements showing payment of salary. So basically, to confirm na talagang nagtatrabaho kayo sa kanya, confirmation of tax paid, or confirmation of health insurance paid, or contract of employment, or some kind of work visa nga, residence permit, saying that you're working for that employer. So basically, gusto lang malaman and some kind of independent evidence na talagang nagtatrabaho kayo para sa kanila. No? But bear in mind, it says one or more. So, only one or more ang gusto na makita. The applicant must also have agreed in writing, okay, the terms and conditions of employment. So para bang hindi naman kontrata, but it's a document that sets out or should set out na what is required, no? The terms of the employment. Papakita ko sa inyo. Let me just see. I'm sure I have a copy of it. Sandali. Let me just see if I can upload that, no? So this is what's called the Appendix Domestic Worker Statement. Let me just see if I can find it nga. Ito. Okay? So, makikita niyo dyan, it's a few pages long. So, the top says, no, appendix, domestic worker statement, pangalan, employer, no, saan sila nakatira, commencement of employment. So, a few things, but nothing that's you won't know, you will not know, no? Importante nga din, of course, is kailan kayo nag-umpisa sa kanila at saka anong sweldo nyo. And you see towards the bottom, you are confirming, or rather, your employer is confirming, that your income is going to be compliant or with the national minimum wage. Okay. Now, I'm aware that some people don't, but under this, you need to be able to show, your employer needs to be able to show that you're going to be compliant. Ang gagawin ko, iiwan ko itong appendix na ito, no? Lalagay ko ito sa Facebook natin, so makita niyo maigi nga mamaya. So it goes on for a few pages, but it's not a difficult document, no? Tingnan niyo maigi. Now, what else would the Home Office look for? Now, the Home Office will be looking for a number of things, mainly nga from the employer. Unang-una, natang babayaran kayo, pagka nandito na kayo, compliant with the national minimum wage. What's the national minimum wage, you may ask, no? Current rates, and usually changes in April, and it also, of course, it changed, well, of course, but it did change in April, 1st of April 2025. Current rates are these, no? £12.21, age 21 and over. Okay. Per hour to okay? £10 between if you're age between 18 and 20, £7.55p if you're age under 18, £7.55p if you are an apprentice. Now, for a lot of my clients nga, ganitong sitwasyon nga nila, domestic worker, they have their employment includes accommodation. Usually same accommodation as the employer. And I've had employers say to me, well, no, the accommodation is probably worth £100 on a daily basis because it's in Knightsbridge, okay? Or it's in somewhere posh, and it's they have their great room, ensuite bathroom, ganon, no? So especially if you apply London rate. But you can't actually do that. You can't deduct that. So accommodation off rates, and I'm going to give you an example nga mamaya. Accommodation off rate is this from April 2025. £10.66p daily rate. £10.66 lang. Okay? Or the weekly rate, pwedeng may bawas, £74.62p weekly rate. Now, how does that apply? Now, sabihin natin you're 25. Okay? So you are over 21, and therefore your minimum wage should be no less than £12.21. So you're age 25, you're working 35 hours. I know a lot of people work longer than that, but you are a live-in domestic worker. What should your income be, no, as required by the domestic worker rule? Now, let's calculate it. £12.21 per hour times 35 hours per week, no, equals £427.35p. I calculated that for you, okay? Minus nyo doon, less £74.62, which is the weekly offset rate allowed for accommodation. Ibig sabihin po, ang kailangan yung sweldo, £352.73 per week before tax. Well, you're probably not paying tax in the UK anyway, because you're here as a domestic worker and because your leave to remain is limited. So £352.73 if you're working a 35-hour week, you own. So kailangan nila makita yon, and that is your income as required, or that should be your income as required by the domestic worker rule. Now, the Home Office will also want to know from your or you need to also show that you do intend to work for your employer whilst in the United Kingdom and intends to travel in the company of the one of the following. So, pagka nandito na kayo, magtatrabaho kayo para sa kanya, at saka papasok kayo dito on the basis of you're traveling with them or maybe their family. So, tingnan natin. So, if you're traveling with a British employer, that's allowed, but you need to be able to show that your British employer, who can of course remain in the UK, is resident outside. Dito sa nakatira, hindi yung pwede. So if they live in, I know, Dubai, Hong Kong, ganon, nandun kayo nakatira, nandun kayo nagtatrabaho, they're coming into the UK and they're coming back, say, to visit. So they have to be resident abroad. Or you're coming in with their foreign national spouse, for example, or or their children nga. No? But the point is they need to be living outside the United Kingdom. The reason for this is ayaw nga nila na dito lang katirang tao, no? Tapos they're essentially going straight to the Philippines, coming back with domestic worker in the UK. So it's not, they want to dissuade, prevent really the people come directly recruiting, for example. And you need to be able to show, of course, that you've been working for them a minimum of 1 year, as I said nga before. So now, gusto nilang makita, the Home Office, you also need to be able to satisfy them that you will leave at the end of your visa. Now, what is that, you might ask me? Maximum for 6 months, that you will leave either at the same time as your employer or even earlier. And then you're not going to live here for extended periods, and you're not going to use the UK as your main home. Okay, 6 months lang po. Now, would you be able to extend that visa? So 6 months nga lang. And this is a question actually that I get a lot. Nandito na yung kliyente ko, like actually yung viewer nga natin, no? Sabi niya, matatapos ng visa niya, domestic visa siya, matatapos ng visa niya, pwede ba niyong i-extend? Unfortunately, the answer is no if you have already 6 months. If you were granted limitedly, say 3 months visa nga lang, you can extend it up to 6 months, but nothing beyond 6 months. It also follows that you can't, with this type of visa, apply for, get indefinite leave to remain, because indefinite leave to remain requires, of course, 5 years usually, continuous leave to remain, 6 months ang bibigay sa'yo. So unfortunately, this the change in the law in 2012 also meant no more indefinite leave to remain if you enter the United Kingdom after April 2012. Okay? Now, sabi ko nga kanina, meron mga kliyente, they still have the old version of domestic worker visa. And not many, thankfully, now anymore. The reason I say thankfully is most have been able to apply for indefinite leave to remain. Problems, I have, I think, a couple of people at the moment, dan problema, they just haven't been able to pass, the test, the Life in the UK test, and the B1. By the way, meron tayong question mamaya to do with tests. And because of that, extension sila, lagi, yearly. I mean, fortunately, when they reach the age of 65, and one of them I know will be 65 na siya ngayon. So next time magpasok kami application, hindi niya na kailangan ng test, which means that finally she can get indefinite leave to remain. But anyway, so you on. Otherwise, it's 1 year, 6 months nga lang po ang bibigay sa inyo. The application is made online. Okay, and there's a visa fee of £682. No immigration health surcharge, because of course they're only coming here for a maximum of 6 months. So it is, as I've said, not reflective really of the original 2002 domestic work visa, but kung yun ang sitwasyon nyo, so kung papasok nga kayo dito, gusto kayong dali ng employer nyo, o may nagsabi sa inyo, why not come as a domestic worker, you must be aware of the factors, of the terms of these types of visas nga, no? So hindi nga lang basta-basta. So kung ang payo sa inyo pasok kayo dito, you can then apply to extend pagka nandito na kayo to as a domestic worker. Hindi po yun tama. So beware of people saying, yeah, wala yung problema, you can apply. They may be talking about the old rules. Or they may just be kidding you. So ingat nga kayo. So it's so you can still enter the UK as domestic worker, but with such severe limitations. Okay. So as I've said, it's a topic close to my heart just because of the background nga. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly look. I always enjoy yung mga yung topics nga natin, no. But this one I particularly enjoyed just because nga, yeah, my my link to it. It's close to my heart, as they say. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me and to that. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now, we have now speaking of enjoyment, we have now the best bit, I think, from of our show, at least the one that I enjoy most, which is the batian section, no? So tingnan natin. Hopefully, kung nanonood kayo, batiin nyo ko, please. Miss Pane, Mariam Galicia Pane. Hello po, Tony, sabi niya. At sa lahat, happy Thursday po, sabi niya, no? Happy Thursday, Miss Pane. I hope you're well. And I hope you're having dinner or have had dinner. Hindi ba ako kumakain, actually? On Thursdays, late ako. Bukas kami, yung kusina namin, hanggang alas 7. Tapos, immediately, I make my way really, really quickly to get ready for you, no? And then I'm doing this, which I like, but but I do get hungry. So, hopefully, you're having dinner. Hi, Miss Paner. Kamusta po? Yeah. Miss Paner and I have been together a long time. No? Guy, the great guy from London. Cloudy Thursday. Tama ka, guy, no? Cloudy Thursday, sabi niya. Thursday. To turn the Lira into the viewers. I work from home today and I'm taking care of Justin now. Oh, Justin is his little boy. Oh, young man, no? Still good news, Attorney Lira, sabi niya, I'm still tap send ambassador. It's a money remittance to Pilipinas, no? Bonus of 15 pounds for first-time users. Looking forward to lots of learning again and to Attorney Lira's lovely voice. Guy, the great guy. You know, he is a great guy, no? He's offering you 15 pounds. Free. You don't get that often. Now, David Calixto II. Good evening, sabi niya. Hi, sir. Good evening, follower of Sir Egay here. Ingat po lahat watching from Philippines. 2:30 a.m. here. Wow, sir, that is commitment, no? I hope you're well, no? Nabalitaan ko maraming bagyo sa atin last week, a couple weeks ago. I hope you were okay. And no, thank you very much for joining us from the Philippines at 2:30 a.m. Nako. Miss Rafael. We love Miss Rafael. Miss Rafael hails from Wimbledon. She's feeling good because she's all caps. Hello, good evening, sabi niya, Attorney Lira, and all the viewers, and happy Thursday. Enjoy watching. I hope you enjoyed that, actually, Miss Rafael. No? She's lovely, Miss Rafael. And I mean, Wimbledon is great. And she lives in Wimbledon. Can you imagine? Lucky thing. Yeah, I love Wimbledon. Good topic. Oh, salamat po. No, yeah, it is a topic that's it's close to my heart, as I say, because I was involved from the beginning. No, and I remember even quite clearly even now things that meeting with MPs, meeting with Home Office officials nga, and I particularly remember talking to people nga na dumating dito as domestic workers and taking their experiences. It was mind-boggling. Miss Jones, Marilyn Jones, Miss Jones is a great dancer. I always say, don't ask me how I know, but I do. A blessed Thursday evening, sabi po niya, no, Attorney Lira and all viewers. Let's enjoy another interesting topic from Attorney Lira. Salamat po, Madam. Are you well? You're back here, no? Because was it 2 weeks ago na she was in New York. The woman travels. No? Miss Nadella, Risa Nadella. Hello, Attorney Lira, sabi niya. Oh, we love Miss Nadella. Miss Nadella and I have actually, Miss Nadella, I think we have known each other for the length of time the domestic worker concession was introduced, di ba? Since about 1997, no? Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I think so, Miss Nadella. So Miss Nadella and I have been together for over 30 years. Wow, over 30 years. Ma'am Cora Carsola, she's lovely. Hello, Attorney. Oh, pretty Lira. And everyone, magandang at masayang Huwebes. Love that. Masayang Huwebes, no? Kamusta ka, Ma'am Cora? Are you well? I hope you're well, no? I hope you are well. And that Rodora Manangkil. Good evening po, Attorney Lira. Blessed Thursday to us all. I'm watching from Cyprus. Wow! Gosh, we're international, no? Salamat po, salamat. No, thank you for tuning in from Cyprus. Oh, love that. Oh, David Calixto sabi niya, the second, meron po ulit kaya canceled classes today. Talaga? Yeah, sabi nga nila, I was actually reading a little bit about the mga bagyo, and it's just we just don't get a let up sa Pinas, no? It's we are it's good. The good thing is we are a resilient, no, people tayo. It always astonishes me that even with all these challenges, hindi nga lang bagyo, earthquake, volcano, we just crack on with things. That just shows you we're very resilient as a people, I do think. Speaking of resilience, no? May Tigbaw Vargas. Hello and good evening, Attorney Lira sabi yan. All viewers. Happy Thursday. Watching from Exeter, Devon. God bless. God bless. Miss May. Are you well? No? I tell you what, Devon is beautiful, especially in the summer. I hope you've been enjoying it. I think next week, someone was telling me, and I'm not sure if this is correct, but someone was telling me, mainit daw next week. Maybe even at the weekend. I think sabi niya by the weekend. At the moment, hindi naman, no? It's actually quite cold. Tsaka umuulan. So I don't know when the weather is going to change, but I'm told it's going to be really warm, no, soon. So I hope that you're enjoying Exeter. I hope you will enjoy Exeter in the warmth. Now, thank you very much for saying hello. Not too late. You can still say hello. No? But in the meantime, let's go through our other questions. Now, great questions. So, now, so hello, I have a concern about my employment. May I ask if it's okay to resign with immediate effect due to workplace stress and depression? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It happens, no? It really, for various reasons, it happens. Now, the answer is yes, it could be if the breach, no, is fundamental to the contract. So, ibig sabihin, meron bang nangyayari that's leading you to have this stress and then also becoming depressed, no? Now, kung yun, if the issue stems from that, your workplace, maybe you're being bullied, for example, then you could resign, absolutely. And you can claim also constructive dismissal. So sabi mo, you had to resign effectively, or you could not, you had to resign, and it's you were effectively dismissed because of the way they've treated you. No? And if you have that, then it could be that you can even claim unfair dismissal, possibly, if you've been there not long enough. So yeah, so it's possible. But ang payo ko, before you do that also, kausapin mo sila. Of course, if you can. Not all employers can be receptive, no? But I've found certainly some employers that I've come across, when they're told what the issue is, they try and do something about it. So don't keep it to yourself, is what I'm saying. You should explain to them ano bang problema, especially if one person is particularly the cause of the problem. But in some cases, because if you're being treated in this way, galing as employer mo, then yes, you can argue that the breach is fundamental to the contract, and therefore you can resign immediately. Okay. Now, I'm sure we have a few more questions there. So I hope you can help me with this concern. I recently applied to switch from a skilled worker visa to a spouse visa. Okay. And the Home Office responded asking me to take another IELTS test. I've been in the UK for 2 years now, but my previous IELTS academic test has already expired. Yeah, it's usually valid only for 2 years. I'm unsure which test I should take. Should it be IELTS academic again or IELTS for UKVI? Also, is it possible to submit a certificate for my UK employer as proof of my English proficiency instead of retaking the test? I would really appreciate your guidance on this. Thank you in advance. Great question. Because this actually, ang maganda nga, mga nagtatanong sa atin, mga sumusunod sa atin, it's always a practical thing, often. No? And yeah, absolutely. Nandito siya, dumating siya dito as a skilled worker. Meron siyang kilala dito, may boyfriend niya nandito na, and they then married, and now she wants to switch over to a spouse visa. No? And sabi ng Home Office, well, kailangan pakita namin, you need to prove your English proficiency. And the IELTS that she took for her skilled worker route has already expired because it's usually only valid for 2 years. So question niya, does she need to do it again? Or can she just submit something out from employer? Great question. The answer is this. Ang kailangan mo, so sabi mo sa akin, is it IELTS academic? Because iba-ibang klase. O IELTS for UKVI? It's the second one. IELTS for UKVI because of the type of visa you're looking to submit or you've submitted the spouse visa. Ang kailangan mo is level A2, okay? Which you will find actually potentially is lower, no, than the IELTS test that you took before, which is probably a B1 level. So A2 ang kailangan mo. So I'm sure papasa ka. Don't bother the A1. Some people would may say, well, hindi A1. No, kung nandito ka na, A2 kailangan mo. A1 is if you say nasa Pilipinas ka, papasok ka dito, then it's A1 for spouse visa. But A2 kailangan mo. But it is the IELTS for UKVI. I'm sure you'll be fine, but keep me informed, no? Let me know what happens at the test and your application. Now, I'm sure meron pa tayong mga questions. Let me have a look. Okay. Gusto ko lang po sanang itanong kung pwede ko pong gawing dependent ang tatay ko. Currently po, nagtatrabaho siya sa Barcelona. Oh, Spain's lovely. Ako naman po, may residence permit under skilled worker visa. Possible po kayang maging dependent ko siya kahit nagtatrabaho siya ngayon? At kung oo, ano pong mga process, ang mga requirements para dito? Salamat po sa tulong niyo. God bless po. God bless to you too, no? Bad news, unfortunately. Okay, so the quick answer is no, on a number of levels. Una nga, it's kung tatay o kaya nanay, kukunin nyo nga dito sa UK, then you will be relying on the what's called the adult dependent route, which is often also can also be used for those children who are over the age of 18. Adult dependent route ang tawag, no? Pero yun, kailangan meron ka ng settlement status in the UK. Hindi ka pa settled, no? Yun ang una. And also, it's really for, so yun ang una nga. So it's, kailangan mo settlement in the UK. Now, as a skilled worker, unless you come under one of the prohibited route. So if you're a carer, you entered the UK very recently, hindi naman pwedeng kunin ang pamilya mo nga dito. But if you're a skilled worker, then you can bring, for example, under the children under the age of 18 at saka partner, no, dito sa UK. Tatay hindi po pwede. No? So unfortunately, no is the quick answer. And I don't, well, I suppose, kung may magka-problema nga siya, potentially pagka-indefinite ka na, maybe under the adult dependent route, but it's a very, very difficult route actually to get through, no? But adult dependent route, still not available to you. Sorry about that. But what can you do? No? Better to know it, yeah? Better to know it than not know it and then pursuing an application nga. That's doomed to failure. Kung magpasok kayo ng application, tapos na-refuse nga yung application, then you potentially have a background that would be problematic nga in the future because you've had a refusal. Okay? Now, I'm sure meron pa tayong mga question, no? Sandali nga lang to. Okay. Nag-a-apply po ako ng standard visit visa para sa mama ko. No? Oh, that's nice. Legally married po, pa rin siya, no? Pero hiwalay po na sila ni Papa for 12 plus years. proof of residence niya sa Pinas ay bahay at lupa sa Batangas. Bought in 2002. Sorry, 2022. Oh, Batangas is lovely. Sa title, so sa titulo, no, nakalagay single yung ano niya, status niya. Pinabago niya kasi dati para hindi makihati si Papa. Okay. Pero ang gamit pa rin niya, apelyido ay married surname, no? Tanong ko lang po, unang-una, sabi niya, no, maapektuhan po bang itong visa application? Number 2, any tips po, anong extra documents na makakatulong? Maraming salamat po sa sagot. Okay. So ito, it's actually not an unusual situation. Not necessarily yung ang rason they don't want them to have a claim against the property. It's some people dahil matagal na nga silang hiwalay, they treat themselves or they consider themselves as single, no? Dahil walang divorce nga sa atin. So I've actually come across a fair few people when you ask them, ano bang status mo? And they will say, oh, I'm single. And later on, you find out actually they are married. Yung nga lang matagal na silang hiwalay. So from their point of view, they're single, no? Now, ang tanong mo muna, maapektuhan ba ang visa application? Not necessarily, but you have to explain it, no? How do you explain it? You explain it in a statement. And this is something in the past I've always said. For a lot of my applications, there are two things that I prepare. That is the legal representations. Ano bang batas? Why do I say that my client should get a visa? And I say, okay, these are my client should get a visa because they satisfy these conditions. But equally important is a statement. I don't mean bank statement, of course, parang affidavit ang itsura. But it could also be a letter in the format. The format is less important, but I like to put it in a statement signed and dated because it just looks more formal. And it looks more and that way it's also more substantial, at least when I prepare it nga. No? So yung statement nga niya, sabihin niyo doon, or in a letter if necessary, sabihin ng nanay doon, bakit nga, no, yung status niya. But although it's noted as single, she's actually, in fact, still married, albeit separated for way over, 10 years, 12 years plus na nga, from her husband. Okay, and there's probably no possibility of saying separated nga, no? So lagay niyo doon. So explain it. So pangalan pa rin niya, but yung okay, just for sake of full disclosure, is saying a single, but actually, of course, she's not single, no? But she's separated. Lagay niyo doon, no? Now, also in the statement, if you're making any claim, so kung ang kaso niyo meron siyang bahay nga bahay sa atin, maganda naman, put it in the statement, explain it. How many bedrooms? Sabi mo nga sa akin dito, it was bought in 2022. So allocate a paragraph saying exactly that. But don't be tempted to be melodramatic. Okay, be factual in your statement. So sasabihin niyo nga, umpisa nga, always pangalan ng nanay mo, nasan siya nakatira, no? Birthday niya, Filipino siya, and then say, I make this statement in support of my application for visit visa for the United Kingdom. My facts, my background is as follows, are as follows. So, and then I live at above address in Batangas nga. I bought the property in 2022. It has 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. I live at the property with, kung meron siyang kasama doon. It's not subject to any mortgage, kung wala kayong mortgage nga. So yun, lagay nyo. I don't know kung kung retired na nga siya. If she's retired, where does she get her money from? No? So ilagay nyo yung istorya niya. Lagay nyo doon, saan siya nakatira ngayon? Ano bang anong income nga niya? Meron ba siyang mga assets na iba pa, o kaya meron ba siyang savings? Kung meron siyang savings, kailangan nyo din sabihin doon, saan ba nanggaling yung savings? Because they don't like it if suddenly 10,000 pounds appear in the savings. You have to explain the source of the amount, okay? Because otherwise they could be nasasabihin nila, well, we think that this was only put in there to make the application look good. So ilagay nyo. So ang tip ko, always explain to the home office the documents, okay? And kung meron kayong mga dokumento, payslips, as I say, o kaya meron kayong bank account, put it in. Now, I know that we are in the Philippines often, cash economy nga. So again, try and explain that also in the statement nga. Now, kung ikaw ang sasagot nga sa kanya pagka nandito na siya, also maybe an idea to have a statement from you. Just to say na nandito ka, anong ginagawa mo nga dito, anong sweldo mo, magbigay ka din ng bank statements. Okay? Kung titira nanay mo dito, then some kind of proof of accommodation, ganoon. Yun ang tip ko. Do not assume that the home office will write to you o tatawagan kayo to say, kulang pa nga ito, pwede nyo kaming bigyan. That's not how it works. I find, especially with visit visas, rather than asking for an explanation, they would refuse. So try and be prepared nga. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes also they just refuse it, and frankly, I can't fathom sometimes some applications not that are refused. And with visit visas, you may know there's no right of appeal, there's no right to challenge. So be careful. Okay, good luck. Hope you get it, and Nanay can be here, right? Kim Santos Sunga, sabi niya, hello, Attorney Lira. I came here to the UK as a spouse visa September 21st, 2020. Okay. And my kids came here September 8, 2022. My immigration status expired on 16 December 2025. Okay. So, hindi pa. Okay. So, ano pong best date to apply for my ILR? I have my IELTS B1. Oh, well done. Okay. I used it for my extension visa. Can I reuse it again? Have you used it for your extension? Oh, I see, because skilled worker. You'll find, depends on the provider, but you may find that the B1 has expired because they usually put a limit of 2 years nga. So, but you'll see that. Tignan mo, if it's expired, then you need to do it again. Now, and don't forget the Life in the UK test, yun ang mas mahirap. The B1, actually, most of my clients pass the B1 without problem. It's the Life in the UK test. Now, so you came here as a spouse visa September 21st. So, ibig sabihin, you need to be able to show 5 years total before you can get indefinite leave to remain. So, ibig sabihin, you can apply by the dumating ka dito. It's the time you entered the UK is what counts, not the date you were granted the visa, by the way. So you should be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain on or after the 21st of September 2025, which is next month. Yeah. So before the 16th of December 2025 expiry of your visa. But yeah, so on that day, when you apply, you need the two things. Kailangan mo yung B1 unless the law changes, because they are looking to increase it from B1 to B2 potentially. And also the Life in the UK test. Kung di mo pa ginagawa yung Life in the UK test, gawin mo na. Because for a lot of my clients, it takes about, the average at the moment is 3 times to take the Life in the UK test. Because ang hirap. Ang hirap. So yun. Yeah, so it's unfortunately the B1 you may well need it again. But you had a B1 for your extension. Well, that's quite good, no? Because you didn't need a B1 for your extension. You simply needed an A2 for extension. But you obviously went for higher. Good for you, right? Now, so yeah, so don't forget 20. Kung dumating ka dito in 2020, it's the old minimum income requirement applies to you, okay? So the new minimum income requirement is £29,000, but the old minimum income requirement is 18,600. So you should still be okay. But may mga bata ka, so ibig sabihin tataas ng konti. Miss Giling, we love Miss Giling. Oh, hello, good evening po, ma'am. Happy Thursday, and to all viewers, Miss Giling is lovely. She's I always say, because it's true, she is she's one of the hardest working people I know. And hindi lang siya, buo niyang pamilya. So they really have been an asset to the UK. Truly, they have. And Miss Gilling is uh, she's a really good person. Good people, as they say. They're very good people. Okay. Now, I don't think meron pa tayong mga greeters na, no? I think that could be it. But yeah, so look, thank you very much nga for joining me. It's always a pleasure, no? I hope, I don't know if it comes across. I always get so excited on the Thursday. I can't wait to impart, my as much my uh, some information nga, no, my knowledge if I can nga. And sharing is caring. So kung nanonood kayo, you think someone may be interested, share our link, no? So it just leaves me really to say thank you po for joining me at Lira and Law on our usual Thursday get together between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. Salamat po for watching, and thank you also to Facebook groups that allow us to post our content on their pages. Salamat po uli, no? Hopefully hindi kayo magsawa sa akin, no? So it's always a pleasure, and thank you very much for tuning in rather than doing something else, like, I don't know, eating, no? And for our mga kaibigan natin from abroad, thank you very much for taking the time and watching me from Cyprus, from the Philippines. Good of you so to do. So it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure as always. Salamat po, and you, as usual, next week we'll do it again, as it were. So it just leaves me really to say thank you again for joining me at Lira and Law. I hope you'll be able to join me next week again. Same time, same place. See you soon. Bye.